Mm-hmm. You're live. Go.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to our Wednesday edition on the Fighting Boys Network. As we talk the world of sports on Wednesday night, 7 to 9. We're all around the country with reporters that talk about a whole thing that you're interested in during the course of the evening. And as always, Roger Hanover is in Atlanta. Ray Cummings is down in Tampa, Florida. And then we've got our master PGA professional with the golf going on right now and going to Arnold Palmer this weekend. And of course, he'll be joined by a soccer conversation and a lot of conversation around the newspapers today about what's happening with the World Cup. So we'll talk about that as well during the course of the evening. But first of all, a dedication from our director, the program manager of this program, Frank Carroll.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a request for to help two of our good friends, both highly respected professionals in their each given area. The first is Dr. Craig Harkop. Craig is probably one of the best diagnosticians that has ever hit the city of Sarasota. He's not feeling very well, and we're asking for prayers for him for a speedy recovery. The other one is hits a little harder, and that's Coach Lou Holtz, passed away at the age of 89 today. Lou was one of the winningest coaches in the history of Notre Dame football, and he was a member of the Hall of Fame, and he and Judge Tom Krug from Sarasota. Tom was his quarterback in the 1988 championship game. So to Mrs. Holtz and all the family, we send out our deepest regrets to Craig, Debbie, Blake, and I can't think of the other kid's name, but we send our very best to you. And ladies and gentlemen, if you can just keep the good thoughts, good healthy thoughts for Dr. Harkop, for her speedy recovery, and if you say a prayer. We also just got one 2 minutes ago on the line for John Eppiheimer up in Philadelphia. John's a 53-year-old young man who I've known all his life. John is in Jefferson Medical Center now and is in for a heart transplant. So please keep these guys in your prayers.
We certainly will do. We certainly do that, and we try each and every show to talk a little about some of the things that maybe a little bit uncomfortable at the beginning of the show, but necessary. And we were saying before we went on the air that all that's happening around the world right now, and a lot of people concerned about that. Also, we look forward to the WBC, which is underway on March 17th, and the United States opens on the 17th, if I'm not mistaken. Starting to get a little publicity right now. Roy, let's get out of you and Tampa. A couple of things. Let's get an update on your thoughts on the WBC, and also what's the progression for the Rays now at the Trop?
Yeah, well, WBC starts this week, and I gotta be honest, guys. You know, I'm a massive baseball fan, but for whatever reason, and look, we're just coming off the Olympics where I couldn't get enough of it. I mean, I had it on, all day and all night, and but I gotta be honest, I've yet to really, I didn't get deep into the first WBC. I don't really see myself getting too deep into this one. I do remember. I'm glad I saw I guess was the final pitch, Shohei Ohtani against Mike Trout, in the last WBC. I thought that was exceptional. Glad I saw that. But, I don't know. I mean, it's a nice tournament. Hope the U.S. wins. It'll be great, I'm sure. Probably some great baseball. But I got to be honest, I'm not too into it. Don't know if I'll watch a game, to be honest. I'm more interested in what teams are doing to get ready for the regular baseball season than I am with WBC. So, sorry, I don't have a better answer for you. I got like no great passion for it.
Well, I think you're pretty much in the same boat with a lot of other folks, even the folks that are writing, doing the coverage of the WBC, and I think you're exactly right, because they're all talking about how interesting is it going to be if the United States doesn't get the final. That's pretty much the story in the early line. How much interest will there be in the U.S. and with television if the U.S. is not involved in the final round, the final game? Roger?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I guess when they start playing a couple of games, I might get interested in it, but I'm more interested in what is going on in spring training, how the teams look, injuries and injuries that may not allow a certain player to be able to contribute and start the season, things like that. I mean, that's what I'm really interested in now.
Well, let's go back, Roger and Don. I'm glad to hear you guys are, I think, on the same page as I am with this. And, it's got nothing to do with, I guess it's just, I don't know. I've never really, felt that, baseball really lends itself to, international competition. For whatever reason, maybe because it's so international anyway. There's so many players from, Venezuela and Puerto Rico, probably the United States, but, Cuba and, other countries, Canada, obviously, that, it's, to me, it's that's part of what makes the game special is that there are a lot of players from other countries anyway, but it's just, to me, it's never been like the World Cup, of soccer, which I absolutely get into, men's and women's. The Olympics, as we just said, it's just, for whatever reason, I just, I don't quite get get all passionate about it. Maybe it would be different if it was, some kind of a smaller type tournament in the middle of the baseball season, sort of like what they did with the Four Nations tournament in hockey last year, which was really, really exciting, obviously. Olympic baseball, I think if the major leaguers were playing in the Olympics, that would certainly get me excited. But, a tournament right before spring training, or right in the middle of spring training, rather, right before the start of the season, my biggest concern, Roger, I think you alluded to this, is I'm just hoping nobody gets hurt. I feel that sometimes players are forced, pitchers in particular, are forced to ramp it up a little bit too soon before, to get ready for this tournament. I know they want to be a part of the team. That means a lot. There's some interesting storylines for sure. But again, at the end of the day, it's just, maybe I'll watch a game, maybe I won't. I certainly don't have any marked down on my calendar. And I got to be honest, when I saw today that some of the spring training matchups were, Tigers against Dominican Republic or whatever, I was kind of like, yeah, all right, well, kind of feels like that game just before the real start of spring training when you play the local college team to get your team some at bats or something, and so that's kind of how I feel about it.
Well, the Red Sox, and it was a pretty good game. They choked out 4-0, and that's some good pitching. But going back to you, Roger, and what you said, I have to agree. I think it's so much of an international flavor in Major League Baseball to begin with. Well, for those players, it's very, very important.
Go ahead, Roger.
Did you lose everybody?
No, his phone. He has a problem with getting out down there.
Roger, he was asking about, he was kind of
You cut yourself off. What's that?
From each country to represent their country. There's no doubt about that.
Shit.
No, you're right. And, the other thing we were talking about, Rojas, it looks like he's going to get an 80-game suspension. And last year it was Alvarado, who got a suspension. And, I don't know, throughout baseball, whatever that they do when they're here stateside, playing during the season.
Well, Roger, we talking about the Philly player in the 80 games, but also Provost going down for his second call for rehab drugs as well. And it looks like right now he's going to be out. And he's already gotten the 80 game suspension, so looks like he's going to go for the circuit this time. And for Rella, I mean, this is his second call too, and he's going to go for 80 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, guys, if maybe there's something that the players are taking right now. Maybe there's a supplement or something else that maybe players have been advised to add to their diet or something new that's come on the market that maybe hasn't been cleared and they don't know about it, or maybe there's something that's somehow triggering positive drug tests or something like that, because we just seem to have had, kind of a run of these recently, and as you pointed out with Jurickson Profar, I mean, you look at a 162-game suspension here, and if we're getting multiple-time offenders, I'm starting to. And look, I think they all admit that they're not doing anything. They're not trying to cheat. I don't think they're. And I think years ago, yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think they're conscientious of what the rules are. I don't think they're trying to skirt the rules in any way, but which makes me think that maybe there's something in some supplement somewhere that has become popular among certain players, maybe more players. Because it just seems like we've seen a lot of these just recently now over the last year. Starting last year and then through this year. I mean, we're seeing like 3-4 players now, pegged for this. So I'm starting to wonder if maybe there's something that's that everybody's taking that they've yet to realize is triggering positive drug tests. Because again, the players, I think, all say, and I think they're being honest, that they have no intentions of cheating. I think it's pretty. I mean, again, if you look at the level of player, we're not talking about. We're not talking about Barry Bonds here, guys. Right. Profar is a nice player. Rojas is a nice player, but we're not talking about the top third of them in Major League Baseball. So it's not like this is going to make that much of a difference for them if it's a performance-enhancing element.
Well, let's jump from there to the Trop, and quick update for those folks around the country that will not be going to Steinbrenner Field in Orlando this year. The Rays are going to play at the Trop, and we're getting closer and closer to the opening of the season, and you're right there, Roy. What do we got from there?
Yeah, Trop, as everybody hoped, to be right back in order. Its usual boring, quiet facility as it always has. But you know what? The Rays will have a roof over there again, which is good. They look. It went rather well, I think, overall for them last year, playing over at Steinbrenner Field. Went to a couple of games, and the weather, pretty much cooperated. Tampa's not the only place that gets hot in the summertime. Everywhere it does. Sometimes places are hotter than Tampa, even. So, I think it was a good experience for the guys. It was good for Tampa to get a taste of baseball and not have to travel all the way over to St. Pete to see the game. Not that it's that far, really, for some, but for others it is. They'll be back in the Trop, and that's where they're going until they build a new stadium, which is looking like it's going to be, right down the street from Steinbrenner Field, in the same neighborhood as Raymond James Stadium. And if that's the case, I think that's when we're going to find out. Again, we're talking 4 years down the road, but that's when we're going to find out just what kind of a baseball market Tampa Bay really is, because the Trop is, it's not a great stadium. It was outdated. The second the Rays walked in there, it was already out of date. It's very hard to develop any kind of exciting atmosphere in there. During a playoff game, sure, the fans certainly get going, but you could have a game against the Red Sox or Yankees sometimes, and it just feels dead in there. There's no atmosphere around the ballpark because there's not much around the ballpark. So Rays new ownership for the Rays are looking to change that. Hopefully they succeed.
Well, you're in Atlanta. Any excitement other than the fact that Pro Bowl was going to be suspended? Any excitement for the Braves?
Well, no. I mean, they've had some problems too. I mean, in spring training, with some injuries, and there just hasn't been as much excitement as there usually is. I will say that I think the one thing that is an improvement that'll really get everybody excited, but I don't see kids in school, wearing Braves attire. I see one boy that wears his bananas hat all the time. He's been to a number of those games around the country or whatever, but I just don't see the excitement yet. But I do think that with them having games on over-the-air TV, I think that is really going to help, where people don't have to pay a price to get, it used to be Bally's TV, and, it changes from year to year, as everybody knows now. But I think that's a plus, and I think that'll really get the team, people get excited. And if they play well, they will definitely get excited. But right now, it's not a whole lot of activity.
Roy, you do a lot of TV work in Tampa, Florida. And, how about the baseball picture? They were shut down, in June last year because of the outlets going financially broke. They can no longer pay their bills and so forth. What's the television schedule for the Rays?
Yeah, the Rays are very popular on TV. I mean, I think a lot of people prefer to stay home and watch them on TV than go to the ballpark. Certainly, that's the case at the Trop. Attendance wasn't a whole lot greater. Not that Steinbrenner Field can hold anymore, but attendance is about the same there. But the Rays TV package is really good. They've got good announcers there with Dwayne Statz and Anderson. So, they've got a really good television package. The ratings are always, extremely good. So I think they're doing great there. And yeah, I mean, obviously every team had a bit of, not every team, but a lot of teams had quite a bit of a hiccup there, obviously, with, some of the stations, going belly up. So they had to scramble to kind of get things fixed, but they did. And, so we'll see the Rays on TV again. And, Roger, to your point about not a whole lot of excitement around Atlanta right now about the Braves. I mean, I think it's understandable. It's still, even in Atlanta, it still feels like winter on a lot of days. So, we're just in the first week of March. Give it 2 weeks, give it 3 weeks. Come opening day, everybody will be excited. And you know what? I think this is a team to get excited about with the Braves. They've got some injuries, obviously, they have to overcome, but I think they've got some pretty deep. They got some depth in the pitching staff that, a couple of guys could come back for them. If Spencer Strider's good, they'll be all right. Chris Sales obviously resigned. I think that's a team to watch. I really do.
I agree.
With Acuna coming back, should be healthy the whole way. I think they could. I think they're kind of flying under the radar a little bit, believe it or not. But I don't think that's going to be the case for long. I wouldn't surprise me at all if after the first month, everybody starts saying, "Oh, watch out for the Braves."
I agree. We're going to get some statistical information in the next half hour as Stave Kinsella is going to join us, and he always says it would be the baseball season. And Roger, nobody keeps the books better than Steve and following not only the minor leagues but the major leagues as well.
Absolutely. I wanted to ask Roy, what is the plan for the Trop when the Rays move to Tampa? What are they going to do with that stadium?
Well, they'll probably implode it and and turn the whole area into a housing and shopping district. I think that was the game plan if they built a new stadium, near the site, which in essence would basically be across the street. So I think what they'll probably do is just kind of go ahead with that plan anyway. It is a growing area, and but it's just, it's a bad spot for a baseball stadium, and it'll probably be a much better spot if it's just, housing and shops and, some kind of a shopping district and a restaurant district. I mean, there's one not too far from it, and they could expand that by bringing it into where the Rays Stadium is now. So that's my guess. I'll be surprised if they keep it up. If they continue to maintain the building, because there won't be a tenant. They could possibly move a soccer team in there or something, but they could have concerts there. But I just don't. I think it'll be better off if the city will be better off if they repurpose the land there and find another use for it.
I think we should do
The reason I ask is that I rarely get to Atlanta, but had to go to a funeral for my aunt, and of course I went by Turner Field twice, up and back. But I looked at it, and as I was sitting in traffic for 1 hour coming through the city on Saturday, but what they've done there is that is the athletic complex for Georgia State University, which is really growing. And they built a new convocation center, which is a really nice arena, and it's right down the street from Turner Field. So it was a natural there where Georgia State could expand, and that's where their football, soccer, field hockey, everything is played in Turner Field, and they've done a really nice job.
Well, now that the camp is over, the general managers, the coaches, and everybody is seeing the National Football League talent to look at, and Roy has any word in your area, Tampa? What does it look like? Kevin Bay team is how many men that they only get that they're looking at to try out kids that they are really interested in?
Well, they're obviously interested in some kind of an edge rusher, but I just don't know that the market's going to offer them the piece they really want. I think they're better off trying to get that through the draft. They've been trying to do that, obviously, for quite some time. But, I don't see them making, a trade for like a Crosby or anything like that. Max Crosby, who every rumor you see has him going to the Bears, and maybe that makes more sense. But that's what the Bucs need more than anything. Is they need some help on defense, and they actually need a few pieces. They could certainly use a middle linebacker. I don't think Levante David is going to be back this time around. I think he's probably played his last for the Buccaneers. There is some talk, there's some concern among the fans about Mike Evans and whether he's going to be back. The Bucs are giving him an opportunity to, shop his wares and see what he can get. But I think at the end of the day, the Bucs will probably re-sign Mike Evans. They'll let him find out what his market price is, and they'll probably match it more than likely. Because again, if you're in the situation the Bucs are in, as I said, the defense is really the issue. That's where they've got to really get, add some pieces. The offense is very strong, but it's strong because of players like Mike Evans that give them so much depth at the receiver position, and they've got depth at the running back position. They got some pretty good depth at the tight end spot, and you've got a top 10 quarterback in Baker Mayfield. So they can put points on the board if everything's going well for them. They probably could protect the passer a little bit better, that's for sure. But more than anything, they need pieces on the defensive side. And I think so. That's what I'm sure they're going to be trying to find in the draft, and we're getting into that part of the year too, where all that speculation begins. So, and I thought something interesting, guys, about most of the projected top 10, players in the draft this year. None of them are for the SEC. I think the majority of mock drafts of the top 10 teams do not have multiple players, if any, players from the SEC going in the first 10 picks overall, which that's a major change in college football, and who's producing what for the NFL.
That was Roger, and just a moment ago, we're talking about the offensive and defensive line for the Buccaneers. I think a little bit surprised when Golden decided he's only 27 years of age, and he was their star. He was really a big part of that rebuilding of the Chicago Bears this year. He's stepping down. He's not going to play football anymore. So he said,
Yeah, well, very true. But I'll tell you what else is interesting. I heard, I guess it was yesterday. Some people think that Kyler Murray may wind up with Atlanta because of the coach Stefanski. But they think that he would do a good job with Murray. And they don't know about Penix, how long or when.
Hey, Frank.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Good.
Good. I hope everything's going well for you. How's my boy?
Pretty well, yeah.
How's my boy Buddy doing?
Walking the dog, so I brought the phone with me.
Okay. I'll put your mic live.
Two monsters in the house.
All right, put your mic live. We're just finishing up with Roy.
Nah.
The workouts in Indianapolis, that's all I can say about it.
Yeah, no, I did not watch the workouts. Actually, I did turn it on once for about 5 or 6 seconds, and that was about it.
I did the same thing.
Yeah, but I've seen a lot of those workouts, guys, and so when I was working it, so I didn't need to see any more. Again, sometimes you get things out of the workout, sometimes you don't. But look, one thing we know about the NFL is they have mastered the ability to keep themselves as front page news throughout the course of the off season, and the scouting combine does it. Speculation about the draft certainly does it, and speculation about where one player might be moving, it certainly does it as well. Your comment about Kyler Murray possibly coming to Atlanta. To me, it makes a lot of sense. I think he probably could benefit from maybe a different coach coming in there, maybe with a different scheme, and certainly with some better talent around him, and see what he can do where he's not, he doesn't have to be kind of almost a one-man show. So where he's got a solid running game to work with, some receivers to work with, and that might be a good bridge to Penix being healthy again. So. And let's face it, Kyler Murray, he's probably looking for a fresh start somewhere. I think Atlanta would be a good place for him. And certainly working with Stefanski would probably be good for him as well. So I find that very interesting. I think it's a good move for him.
yeah, they were saying that they were coaching and a stopgap move of 1 year. They would anticipate that essentially to make a major trade or would come up with a quarterback for this guy. And then if he did go there, it would only be a 1-year shot. I'm going to find a contract for a 1-year shot. But you're right, Roger. Quarterbacks are way down under the man during that second. Roger there?
Oh, I'm here.
Everybody's here, John. Your phone keeps going in and out.
Yeah, we keep on losing you.
Hey, Frank, you might want to, while I bow out for the night, before you get Steve on, you might want to just have, might just want to re-up with Don there, just see if you can get a better connection with him.
Yeah, I've tried.
I'll hang up and call you back.
Okay.
Okay. Roy, I'm talking about your points on the Braves. I totally agree with you, but I am worried about the Phillies because they lose the spares part for the outfield, Rojas, and then they've had other issues, and then Rincon, who would they probably replace Rojas? They say he's got tendon issues. So that they're really.
Okay, we'll try it one more time.
Is this any better?
This is much better. Yeah, you were coming in pretty broken up, and then sometimes it was just gaps.
Yeah, you should have just said it. I would have just dumped that early.
I did. I guess you didn't hear me.
No, I didn't hear you say it.
He's not going to, he's not great, but Jack Sawinski is a guy who's, showed some power in Pittsburgh, and has played a couple of years in the big league. It could probably help a team. He just got waived by not waived, but he's down in AAA with the Dodgers now. I mean, I think there's pieces out there to get. So the good news is, I think for the Phillies, is that it's early. And look, you're always looking for somebody maybe in terms of Rojas. 80 games is a lot. It's half a season. But, if you can get somebody that can, maybe get hot for you over the course of, March, April, and May, it stems the tide. Maybe they can make a deal for Castellanos and get him back. I don't know. I was kind of curious that if they let him get away anyway. Because look,
you're not going to get it. You're not going to get him back, Roy. You're not going to get him back to Philly. That's not going to happen.
he wanted out.
He did not go out on a happy note. He's not going to. No way he's going back to Philly.
Yeah, well, look, the Castellanos I know, bit of a red ass anyway. I don't think he's ever smiled, so he's not going to be happy anywhere. But hey. Sometimes, you got to do what you got to do. I don't know.
You're right.
It's just, I think they're kind of regretting the fact that they let him get away now. So we'll see. They're paying a bit of a price for
$20 million. Roy, $20 million they had to pay him. They said, okay. When I said that, they have to pay him 19.
You won a championship with him, I think, right?
Oh yeah, they won a championship with him.
Yeah,
but they already paid off the contract because he gets 1 year lowest base in San Diego, which is just under $1 million, and the Phillies almost $20 million. So they got 19, and San Diego's got to pay one. And
that's why I say if you're paying it anyway, then you go get him, bring him back. He's not going to play much for the Padres. He'll play more for the Phillies probably, but
No.
probably need to make a move here because again, it just seems like one thing they don't have a lot of depth in the minor league system. This is not a team that's really seems to be full of prospects here right now.
well, we're at 31, Roy, so we'll say thank you very much. As always, the first half hour and an extra minute. My phone breaking up, so we'll make it on until next week.
You sound good now.
We'll make it up until next week. Thanks a lot, Roy.
Thanks, Roy.
Take care.
Steve Kinsella is with us right now. We're going to continue with the baseball conversation, and he may have a little something more. We're just chatting about it, heard it. But the one thing I think when Kinsella left the Phillies, he did not leave on good circumstances. I mean, he embarrassed the manager, he embarrassed the team, he embarrassed the front office. And I don't think there's any way that they're going to bring him back under any circumstances, but that's only my opinion. Things happen. Steve, how are you? Nice to have you with us, baseball veteran. You are in.
Yeah, you don't want Nick Castellanos back in Philadelphia. You're not going to win with him at this stage of his career. He doesn't bring a glove with him. He's not a very productive hitter. He has a lot of issues in the clubhouse. And you're better off finding a young, athletic guy that can play infield and outfield. Now, let me tell you guys, the market to watch is the out-of-option players and the players that have automatic opt-outs at the end of camp, that finished last year on a 40-man roster, that if they're not added to a 25 or 26-man roster, they're able to latch on to another team. That's a very lucrative market at the end of camp.
Let me ask you we'll chat just very briefly about the World Baseball Championship. Your thoughts about it, the players, first of all, players participating, as Roy said, and he's right. You certainly don't want to see anybody get hurt, but yet some players are very anxious to play, some players are not.
Yeah, players, let's take the injury part of it completely out of it, because players get hurt in spring training, players get hurt throwing bullpens. There is no added risk of being in intensity and getting hurt in the World Baseball Classic versus, you look at Samuel Basallo for the Orioles making a tag at home plate and rips up his chest. You've got coming up with the bum elbow, in a bullpen session. You've got Pablo Lopez out for the year because he ripped his elbow. So when you remove kind of like the old man who you shouldn't be playing competitive baseball in March, you remove that from the equation. The World Baseball Classic really is a fun event. My first trepidation about the World Baseball Classic was, would the stars want to play? How intense would it be? Would it just be like an exhibition? And the last couple World Baseball Classics, you can see that the players want to win. The players want to go hard. They want to bring it home. I mean, watching Ohtani strike out Mike Trout to end the last World Baseball Classic was just a fantastic baseball moment. And I'm hoping to have another one this year, another fantastic baseball moment where we have that matchup, where we have that intensity for the championship.
Steve, we talked about earlier, about Johan Rojas being out for 80 games. And, last year it was Alvarado, and there's other players that have had the same issue and have gotten suspensions. And Roy Cummings, brought up that he thinks it's unintentional. I agree with that. But I don't agree with it. Oh, okay. Well, I just what I'm seeing is it's more Latino players that during the off season they're not around the area. They're not maybe at the ballpark or the Florida complexes, and that's the way I look at it. That they're not monitored. And maybe sold bill of goods that is really hurting them. What do you think?
Well, it could be. There is discrepancy there, but remember, Max Kepler's not Latino.
No, he is not. But I'm just saying.
I know it is overwhelmingly the Latino player, but there is a little bit of questionable. I always say if there's something that doesn't make sense, that there has to be something behind it. And for a guy like Jurickson Profar to sign a 3-year, $45 million deal, usually you don't start doing PEDs after you get your contract. You know what I'm saying? So there could be a language barrier or some nefarious playing going on. But I think these guys are just taking stuff. Like technically, guys, if you didn't know this, you're supposed to, if you're taking supplements or using any kind of product, you're supposed to save half of what you use. That way, when you go to your appeal, you can turn over half of your supply, and it's going to have the lot number, and they can test it in the lab. So if you have a lot number of some kind of over-the-counter supplement that tests positive, but it wasn't listed in the ingredients, you could win your appeal.
I see.
But that's how you're supposed to do it, And I don't know if the Latin players don't. Ryan Braun wasn't Latin either, and he got busted, many
and
years
he was a really good player.
Yeah, and Chris Calaballo got busted, and same stuff, the Italian. So it is kind of an odd thing, but it's a cloud that's over baseball right now, and as far as Philly's concerned, there's such a wealth of players to replace a guy like Rojas with. That I wouldn't really worry about him too much.
Well, I just think that, it's and I think Roger's right to one point that, whether it's the tennis players or the golfers or whoever, it seems like as soon as they get caught, well, I didn't know that was something that we couldn't use.
Yeah.
And that to me, with the agents, as well as they cover people and their product themselves, I don't believe that. I don't believe that you can say, I didn't know that I was using something I shouldn't use.
Right, but it could be as simple as somebody putting something in their smoothie every day.
Right. Well, that's true. But
I agree with you.
And Profar, and you're talking about Rojas. This is the second time. This isn't the time. You get a little more, I would think, you get a little more cautious if you got caught once.
Right. It is funky. But, like I said, the Phillies will be fine. There are so many baseball players out there that are available at the end of spring training, and they had that automatic opt-out.
Right.
There's a lot of players available, and, you'll see the Phillies pick up one or two of those guys and give them a look.
Roger?
Well, they've had other injuries too, as I mentioned. Rincon has tendonitis, and he was on the 40-man roster already. So, he won't be the guy that they'll pull up because you don't know how long he's going to be out. And it's things like that. But you hit the nail on the head with all these injuries.
It happens every year. I mean, that's why you got to be numb to it. I mean, this is just part of baseball in the 21st century. You know, it's you can lose 4 or 5 guys. It shouldn't short circuit your season until you see how it plays out. You can't judge the magnitude of an injury or a suspension until 40, 50 games. Right? It could end up working out well for you. You might find a hidden gem on the waiver wire or through a trade. A guy that's out of options comes in and locks down a position, and you're like, wow, this guy's really something. I mean, it happens to teams every year.
Right. Well, I watched the Red Sox and the Yankees today here in wonderful Florida, 84 degrees temperature. It was a great day. Yankees got off to a great start. It's interesting to look at what's going to happen now, and we'll get some of your evaluation because most of the papers, most people that are writing in baseball think the Red Sox are getting a lot of great blues, and they're going to be a much more team of consensus that they can make a run at it with the Yankees. And what your thoughts, first of all, in the American League East?
Well, you take all teams in the American League East right now, and you put them maybe a neck apart. There's not a lot of separation. I mean, the Rays had a bad year last year, but they're still very talented. The Orioles had a down year, but they're still very talented. And then you've got Toronto, Boston, and New York. So, if it was a horse race, you'd probably have Toronto on top, Yankees second, Boston third, Baltimore fourth, and Rays fifth. But the separation between top and bottom isn't really wide. So it will be fun to watch how that race unfolds. The wild card for the Yankees is how does Garrett Cole come back, and fit into that rotation. Is he the old Garrett Cole? And that's a huge variable for them, So it'll be very fun to watch the American League East and how they all settle in.
Roger?
Yeah, let's go right through the American League. Okay, Central next. What do you think? And we'll go to the National League. This is great.
I still think that I'll try my best here, but I still think Detroit and Cleveland are going to have a nice battle in the Central. with Detroit's starting pitching staff that they added on to, and they're bringing back most of that offense. I really think that's going to be a very Framber Valdez, Tariq Kubel, Justin Verlander, and Jack Flaherty, as their starting 4, and then they added to the bullpen. I think those are the two. We can move on, but those are the two teams I think are going to battle. The White Sox might improve, but they're not going to be up there.
What do you think about the arbitration, the biggest arbitration settlement to the best of my knowledge?
Yeah, there was a very necessary arbitration hearing. I don't hold any malice towards the Tigers or the union. When you win 2 Cy Young awards, it's never been established. There's a gray area in the CBA that says that you're now compared to players not in the arbitration pool, but players out of the arbitration pool. So that's never been challenged. Now, a few examples, guys, where the players settled before going to arbitration on this. Tim Lincecum with the Giants was in that situation, and instead of having the arbitration hearing to force the issue, he signed an extension with the Giants. The next guy that won 2 Cy Young awards in arbitration was Shane Bieber, and he inked an extension with Cleveland. Or excuse me, it might have been Kluber. I'm sorry, I think Kluber was the one that had the 2. Now we have Skubal, who has the 2 Cy Youngs, and his camp made it for the union to lift everybody else up. Said let's take this to arbitration, and the Tigers' offer was based on the arbitration pool of pitchers, and Skubal's offer was based on the pitchers of normal contract. And the arbitrators said they kind of made the definitive statement that when you have 2 Cy Youngs or 2 MVPs, it's kind of the standard, you're no longer judged in the arbitration pool. The next guy to watch, guys, will be Paul Skeens. If you went to second Cy Young, he entered that area. And now he has an idea of, I'm not going to be getting like the same as all the other arbitration pitchers. I'm going to be asking school money. And it also helps in the Pirates if they wanted to extend Skeens long term. They have an idea of what arbitration is going to look like in year 4, 5, and 6 now.
Roger? Yeah, what about, then let's move out west.
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you think in the AL West?
Yeah, the A's are still the upstart A's, and I love the story, that they, Nick Kurtz and all the other guys, the young kids, they're coming up and looking good. I still don't think they have enough. I like the Mariners and the Astros. Now the Astros are going to get a full year back with Carlos Correa. Nobody looks at what they, a lot of times people don't look at what you do at the trade deadline. You only look at what you do over the winter. But, that getting Correa at the end of last year was a big move for them. So I like Houston. They're a little dinged up in the pitching, losing Framber Valdez and a couple others. I think Josh Hader's a little banged up, but I do like the Astros and the Mariners just to battle out there. Angels, I don't think are a very good team. I think the A's are like the upstart A's,
This hour talking baseball as always. It's more numbers. Yeah.
I'm losing them again.
Yeah.
I know. Hey, Steve, can you hear me okay?
I
Yeah.
hear you.
Yeah, good. Don, we keep on losing. I wanted to ask you, we talked about the AL West. Staying with them, with the Angels, do you see that Trout could be traded somewhere?
I mean, he's got the 10-5, right? So it'd be up to him. So there's only 1 or 2 teams that he would decide to go to. And the Angels have no incentive to trade him because they're not going to get anything back for him at this point when he's owed all that money and he has all the leverage.
Yeah.
And you draw close to 4 million fans a year. What's the point? Keep the fans happy and keep Mike Trout an Angel for life. The only variable that would change was him saying, "I don't want to be here anymore. Please trade me." And then he would tell you where he wanted to be traded to, and you give up 2 like low A prospects, and the Angels would have to pay most of the contract.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I moved outside now. Is that any better?
Much better.
Yeah.
It's good, Don.
Okay. Go ahead, Roger.
No, I was just thinking one of the teams might be the Phillies. Because he still lives in South Jersey. In the off season, he's got Eagles season tickets, and he's buddies with Kelsey and many others. So he might wind up doing the TV show with Kelsey. I could see that happening in the future too.
Yeah, I don't think the Angels should never, they should not ever let Mike Trout go anywhere. He should retire an Angel, and he should be out there with the statue, like Stan Musial with the Cardinals.
I agree with that.
I'm with you. I'm
Robin Roberts, Mike Schmidt. That means a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I'm all for staying as long as you can when you're a superstar. That's for sure. How about you touched on the Phillies, but how about the National League East in its whole, in its entirety? What do you think?
Wow, Mets and the Mets were so banged up in the starting pitching last year, and they seem to be back together better right now. Even though they lost Edwin Diaz, I like the Mets and the Braves. And it's a tough division, The Marlins are going to be a pain in the butt for everybody in that division as well. They're a young, talented team. They remind me of the 2008 Braves.
They're all talking about the lower end of the, like you're talking about Washington, the same thing, that they're going to be not competitive, but they're going to be much more competitive than they've been the last couple of years. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, they will be. But when I'm talking about the Marlins, I'm talking about the Marlins looking down their nose at the rest of the division. I'm not talking about that. little competitive. I think that team is poised and ready to kind of make a jump. If everything breaks right, I like the Marlins more than I have in the past. You know, if I had a dark horse in baseball this year that would shock people, it would be the Marlins. But I would still go with the Mets and the Phillies and the Braves in some kind of order at the top of that division. If the Braves pitching holds up and they get those two guys back, Schellenbeck and whatever, can't remember the guy's other name off the top of my head right now. They're not out for the year, so I'm hoping that I'm hoping
Roger?
they get those guys back and that Chris Sale stays healthy and the team stays healthy. And I like the Braves. I still think it'll be Braves, Mets, and Phillies in some order, and then most likely the Marlins might crack that top three in the National. We'll be right in there.
And if there's injuries to one of those three, the Marlins could, if they don't have injuries, they could really creep up, right?
Yeah, I just like the Marlins as a whole. They're a young, exciting team that, you know, they still have holes. So I think the 2008 race has stunned the world that I wouldn't be shocked.
Do they have enough pitching?
They have a lot of young arms, man. I mean, they've traded away 2 or 3 arms because they have such a flood of arms.
Roger?
Yeah, they have the one guy that they got from the Phillies a number of years ago that, you know, has done well at times.
Yuri Perez, right?
Yeah, right. At times, and then when the Phillies play him, he looked good one time, and then he didn't look good other times. This is over a couple of years.
The ballad of a young pitcher, am I right?
Yeah, that's right. It always works that way. Now, I'll never forget, Don and I talked about this years ago, with the Mets. When, you know, who was it, Don? He was going to go into the Hall of Fame when he came up with the Mets, and he's been all over baseball since. And he had one injury after another.
Well, the one that we talked about more than anyone else was the one with Washington. That, you know, he signed he had a great World Series, not the World Series, but they went to the World Series, and he was, you know, a big, then they signed him to another contract, and I can't think of his name right now.
He was drafted for 12 innings.
That's it.
Or the ballad of Mark Pryor when he was injured with the Cubs a number of years ago.
Oh, they got slaughtered with that. They got slaughtered with those big contracts.
Oh, yeah. And the one that they let go, the one the Nationals let go, and Anthony Rendon, he didn't work out too well for the Angels. All those guys, Strasburg, Zimmerman, Rendon, all of them kind of flamed out. Juan Soto did not, but the rest of them did.
Rendon still got the bad. He's got the bad elbow still. It's not, although he did throw batting practice, I think, yesterday.
Yeah, Strasburg was the one.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody had him ready to go into the Hall of Fame that first game out.
$225 million you got.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Hey, he got it, you know, no matter what, right?
Hey, God bless him. Hey, which division are we on now?
Okay, a National League Central.
Cubs, Brewers, and Cardinals. Wow. Cardinals are in a rebuild, so we can kind of knock them off. Pirates, you know, they have that nice young pitching staff. I don't think the offense, even though they got Brandon Lau and they got Spencer Horwitz healthy, and they brought in a few other bats. I don't think they're ready to take down the Cardinals or Brewers, or the Brewers or Cubs in that division. I always say this, you know, from numbers standpoint or analytics standpoint, I have no basis for this, but I always put the Brewers near the top of the division somehow.
They always find a way, don't they, huh?
Yes, they do.
And as you indicated, and we've talked about many times on the program, you can't name half the players on the team. I mean, they're not household names, and yet they put together, an outstanding defensive team as well as a consistent offensive team to score enough runs to be competitive all the way through the year.
Yeah, you want to bang on them and say, well, you can't trade Josh Hader and stay competitive, and they did. You can't trade Corbin Burns and stay competitive, but they did. And this year, you can't trade Freddie Peralta and stay competitive, but somehow I'm saying that they're going to remain competitive.
Well, we go out west. The Dodgers will be on tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I have a chance to see them play. First, I haven't really had a chance to see the Dodgers play at all in spring training. But your thoughts on the West?
Oh, well, as I've mentioned to you guys before, I spent a lot of time listening to late night baseball, old audio style. I think the Giants are okay. I'm interested to see most of how Tony Vitello does, jumping from University of Tennessee to the dugout in baseball. That's a pretty good litmus test for the future. San Diego is a very talented team. They do have the arms. They did add on to that roster. They may have an influx of cash when the sale goes through. They're trying to sell right now the Seidel family. But that and Arizona, somehow they're like the Brewers. They seem to find a way. Maybe not every year, but they find a way to stay relevant for parts of most years. But in the Rockies, we can forget about them. They're still in the retooling of the front office from the bottom up. That's the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are a great story for baseball for us. I mean, anytime as sports fans you're talking about a three-peat, whether it's the Yankees of the 90s or the Bulls of the mid-90s, or now the Dodgers with a chance to three-peat, that's just a continual storyline all year. And the one good thing about that is every team that goes into L.A. or when L.A. is on the road, they get the best out of the team they're playing. And that'll be fun all year.
I agree 100% that one of the things that they talked about so much this last week was, during the Yankee dynasty of the great years, it was so good for baseball.
This is Doug Fernandez. I'm not here right now. Leave a message, and I'll get back to you. Thanks.
At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hey, Doug, it's Frank Carroll calling. We were trying to get you on by 8 o'clock, so give me a call back at 941-685-4540. Hey, Doug, how you doing?
Hey, Frank, I noticed you called, but my phone's ringing.
Okay, I'll merge you in. We're just finishing up with Steve Kinsella.
I'll hang in here.
Okay. Hello?
I'm not doing anything. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah. All right. We got Doug's on now too.
Okay, I'll get him up next.
Okay. Go ahead, guys.
I'm back.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. And Steve, thank you very, very much. We're ready to roll for the next segment, but it's always a pleasure, and so much baseball information comes from you, and you keep those numbers better than anybody I know. So thank you very much for joining us. We'll have you many times during the season.
Take care, Steve. Thank you.
Okay.
We must have lost Steve. All right, Doug Fernandez is ready for my columnist for the tribute.
Okay, we're going in.
His quarterback did not have much opportunity to show his wares because I don't think the game plan that they had was very good for May in that Super Bowl game. But I'll let a guy that covers it more closely than I do, Doug Fernandez. Welcome again to the show. Thank you for joining us and your comments, first of all, on the Super Bowl as a Red Sox Boston fan.
Thanks for having me. Hope you guys are well. They scored 2 garbage touchdowns. If they hadn't scored those touchdowns, it might have been the worst Super Bowl to watch and the most one-sided. You can say that the Patriots had an easy schedule, that they capitalized on some weak teams, even though there weren't a lot of great teams in the NFL. And that they got the ball bounced their way, and they faced a supremely superior team in the Super Bowl, and it showed. I think maybe they were due for a game like that. May hurt his shoulder in practice. That was very obvious. They tried to hide it as best they could, but there were some passes early on that, when he was healthy, that he completed. I could tell early on with the first couple of incomplete passes that it wasn't going to go their way. I thought going in that Seattle was the superior team, and I thought they would win. I thought the game would be a little more competitive than it was. And so the people who thought that they capitalized on an easy schedule and the fact that in the playoffs they faced some teams that some of their players weren't 100%, and then they can say they were right. But no Patriot fan at all expected this. No one could say they expected them to reach the Super Bowl. I thought if they won, 8 or 9 or 10 games, that would be a successful season. But, they have holes. That game illustrated that, they had a very good season, but they need help. And it was just announced that they're going to release Stephon Diggs because he's owed about $23 million, and he's 32 years old. So they're going to release him. So obviously they need a number one and number two receiver. So they have holes to fill. But all in all, it was a very successful season. It was just the Super Bowl was kind of a drag,
All right. I just want to give you a chance to recap a little bit for us because I know you follow the Patriots so closely, what's everything that happened in Boston. Roger, we'll go back to baseball for a minute. Nobody knows more. We saw the Red Sox today on television against the Yankees. You're up, Roger. Go to it.
Well, just to put a cap on the Super Bowl, I agree with you totally, Doug. But you know what? The schedule is what it is. There's always a lot of teams that surprise you, i.e. the Chiefs in the AFC, the Lions in the NFC that were expected to be up there, and who would have thunk? So things happen. I think the Patriots were to be congratulated. I think the coach, the quarterback were instrumental in their success. And let's move on. Now let's get to baseball, okay? And we were just talking to Steve Kinsella about the American League East, and so what's your opinion? You got the Yankees, and you got the Red Sox, etc. But do you see the Red Sox really being able to turn it all the way around and go right to the top this year or not?
They've become a team that's focused on pitching and defense. If you look at the people on their staff who could be in their rotation, it's 8 to 10 deep. Now, I don't know how good a lot of them are, Cutter Crawford and guys like that, but they went out and they got Sonny Gray. They went out and got this Ranger Suarez, who I like. He's the kind of guy who only throws about 93 miles an hour, but he's an actual pitcher. He can hit the corners, and he has breaking ball. He doesn't throw the ball 95 miles an hour. I've been watching, because I have this Red Sox box that can pick up all their spring training games. I've watched every one of their spring training games. I saw their game today. And, they picked up Contreras from the Cardinals to play first base. I don't know where Tristan Casas is. I mean, this is the rehab from a knee injury, the longest knee rehab since Bobby Orr. I mean, I don't know where this guy is, but, they picked up Contreras. They picked up this guy Durbin from Milwaukee, who I like a lot. He's only 5'7", but he's a real spark plug. He's going to play either third base or second base. And the question surrounding the Red Sox is, are they going to have a guy who's going to hit 20, 25 home runs? I mean, they're already calling Roman Anthony a superstar. I can't believe they're using that term to describe a guy who only played basically, half the year, if that, and then he got hurt, an oblique injury, swinging the bat. I don't think you can put the label superstar on this guy yet. He's a very, very good player, and he's got a great promise, but he hasn't done anything to deserve the label superstar. You know, when you thought of the Red Sox of the past, you know, going back to Dick Stewart and through George Scott and, you know, Lynn and Hobson and Rice and Butch Hobson and Yastrzemski, you always thought of guys who could hit the ball out of the ballpark. And to think they may not have a player on this team that hits 25 home runs, it's amazing. Once again, they're focused on pitching and defense, which means having to win, I would guess, a lot of 3-2, 4-3 games. But for them to win defensively, they would completely have to do a 180 because the last 4 or 5 years, they've been one of the worst defensive teams in the major leagues. They haven't made the routine plays, and that's really put a lot of stress on their pitching. So to expect them to become one of the better defensive teams because they've added 2 or 3 players, I don't know. So that remains to be seen. But what I noticed watching the Red Sox and a lot of these other teams, all these pitchers are humongous. I mean, they're all 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 6'6". The Red Sox have a guy 6'8". Yeah, I think they've all bought into this. The bigger the guy, the longer the stride, the closer he is to home plate, and the closer he is releasing the ball. So if you're throwing the ball 97, 98 miles an hour, and you're releasing it 52 feet away from the plate, they figure that the pitcher has a huge advantage. The Red Sox are all gigantic. All their pitchers are big, and they throw hard. So there's no more of these 5'8" lefty sidewinder specialists anymore. All these guys just throw the ball really, really hard.
The other thing, Doug, is that when they got Ranger Suarez from the Phillies, after with the free agent, and I agree with you. I mean, he is a solid major league pitcher. He really led the Phillies the last 2 years, especially the second half of the season. But he doesn't play a lot of games. I mean, he gets injured, not physically injured, but I don't know if it's tired or a sore arm or what it is. But it's usually the second half of the year before he comes on, and then he stays healthy, and he goes 7, maybe into the 8, but that's it. And so that's a real question mark for him with the Red Sox.
You know, the way it's unbelievable because, Don, you remember the way baseball used to be. They baby these pitchers, and I can understand it a little bit. They have so much money invested in these guys. They have millions invested, and they spent millions in development and millions in analytics and development and nutrition. There's so much money invested in these guys, so maybe they do treat them with kid gloves. But, you know, a guy like Ranger Suarez, all he has to do is go 5 or 6 innings. I mean, if he goes 5 or 6 innings, the Red Sox will consider that investment worth it because that's all expected of these guys. And then they bring in each guy for an inning, and he throws the ball 97 miles an hour. He throws 20, 25 pitches, and then they bring in the next guy. So as long as he pitches 5 innings, 6 innings, he's good. But I like him. I like him because he knows how to pitch. I mean, it looks like he's just not throwing the hell out of the ball with max effort. It looks like he's really dealing out there, and really that's an anomaly in today's game. You don't see that much anymore, you know?
Roger?
Well, he also was a pitcher with the Phillies, Doug, that would go deep into games many times, you know, and you could count on him. And, you know, I understand that the Phillies are looking, to get Painter into the rotation, and they had 2 other left-handed pitchers, in Suarez and Lozano. I'm sorry that they let him go because you still don't know whether this pitching staff that they have are going to survive like they think they are. I don't think you can ever have enough pitching.
Well, that's what the Red Sox feeling is. And like I say, they got 8 or 9 guys who are in contention for 4 or 5 jobs. Well, I would say less than that because, a couple of guys at the Garrett and and Bello and Gray are penciled in, but the other spots are kind of up for grabs. Listen, when the Red Sox did not re-sign Bregman, they pivoted, and that seems to be the word nowadays. They pivoted from getting an offensive guy. They dumped that money into another pitcher. So they went from the offensive side to the pitching side. They figured they couldn't use that money on a hitter, so we'll dump it on a pitcher. And after acquiring Gray and this guy, and they got Soche, Bello, I'm not so sure about. And listen, they have a log jam in the outfield. They have Duran, they have Abreu, they have Raphael, and they have Anthony, and they have Yashima. I mean, they have too many outfielders for spots. I would think the Red Sox are a candidate to make a spring trading deal. I mean, you may see them make a deal during spring trading to trade one of these guys, maybe a power-hitting infielder. Because frankly, when I look at that infield, I don't see much power there. So they may make a trade during spring trading. You never know.
I'll tell you, I don't know if you had the fortune to see the game today, but I'll tell you, they brought a guy in the sixth inning today. They retired, I think, 5 or 6 in a row. And, man, you talk about throwing the ball. Whew. I mean, he was throwing some smoke up there.
Are you talking the Red Sox guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that 6'8" guy, Guerrero, who hasn't pitched in the majors since 2019. He's been pitching over in Korea and over in Japan. But, they want guys who, when they release the ball, they are not 60 feet from the mound, from home plate. They are like, some of these guys have 6 or 7 foot strides. So by the time they release the ball, they're like 52 feet from home plate. So that's what they consider now more than they ever did years ago. Basically, it was think the slider. And it's amazing. All these hitters are huge. They all look the same. I mean, you don't see any guys like Dolan Jones anymore just slapping the ball. I mean, all these guys, even the guys who are 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", they are swinging from the heels, and they are big. I mean, they are muscular, and the nutrition, and that part of the game is so advanced. And I do believe that these hitters are so advanced that unless you're a pitcher who can get out guys on different parts of the strike zone and different sides of the plate, you're going to get your head handed to you. So maybe I think it's that kind of game now.
Roger?
Yeah, well, I'm afraid that when they are that tall and when they get closer to a home plate, they're liable to take a shot at them and really get hurt. But you're right. You're right about these young pitchers. I had this young man in school today, 7th grade, and he's got to be about 6'2", at least 6 feet, but it's more like 6'2", and he looks like he should be playing basketball or a senior in high school. Doesn't act like it, but he's a baseball player. So there you go. And I mean, this kid's only in 7th grade, Doug.
Oh, I mean, it's the big is in. Apparently, it's all about power. It's all about home runs, and you can't hit home runs if you look like Eddie Brinkman. You gotta, even if you're 5'8", 5'9", you've got to be muscular, and it's all about generating bat speed. So, and listen, guys years ago used to use spring training to get shape, right? They come into camp out of shape, and then they sweat themselves into shape. And now you have to come into camp in tip-top shape. The money is too big, and the competition is too steep to afford it. But I'll tell you what I like. I like this ABS system. I'm really liking this challenge system. It's fast. It doesn't take much time. The fans like it. And this system is like within 1/10 of an inch of home plate. It is so exact. And these ball players, these catchers, it's amazing. I've seen them, touch their helmet, disagreeing with a ball call. And it's been a strike. But it's only a strike by like 1/10 of an inch. So these guys are on their game. And I think it's going to make umpires more aware of it. I mean, they don't want to get embarrassed. So I think it's going to sharpen up their game as well. I like it a lot.
You took that right out of my mouth, Doug, because that was the next question I was going to ask you. How do you like that? And I see where the Twins have been the most successful. I think last I saw it was Tuesday or Monday. They had been successful 6 out of 8 times on their challenges. So I think you're right. I think it's going to make the umpires much more cognizant of being on top of their game as well as the players.
Oh, I think this is experimentation time in spring training. They're trying to get a handle on when to use it. You know, as you know, if you're right, you retain your challenge. And if you're wrong, you lose it. And you only get 2 of them. So I would think if you're a team, you're going to want to keep a challenge in your back pocket for later in the game when it's really needed. When it's a key pitch that you may want to challenge. You don't want to burn these things early in the game. It's like burning challenges in the NFL, even burning your timeout. You want to be judicious in using these things, but it's amazing because the umpires, I was watching one Red Sox game where both teams challenged the umpire like 5 times in the first 2 innings, and they were right on 4 or 5 of them. But after that, it was only like 1 for the rest of the game, for the next 6, 7 innings. So I think once the umpire knows, you know, he's looking at the board too. I think once the umpire gets locked in to what the camera is showing, I think he realizes, okay, this was called a ball earlier and I was overturned, so I know this is a strike this time. So I don't think it's going to add much time to the game at all either. Maybe
Doug Fernandez, our guest this half hour, columnist of the Tribune for such a long period of time and has covered sports now for a number of years. I won't say maybe 30 years, 35 years. The only shortcoming he has, he went to Missouri. We don't with it.
The only shortcoming, talk to some of my girlfriends.
Roger, you're up.
Well, you know, Doug, I have a couple of questions for you. A comment first. I'm just looking at the Phillies pitching staff. Taquan Walker, 6'4", Wheeler, 6'4", and then Ainer is 6'7", just like you're alluding to. And it's just amazing. You're right. There's one guy at 6 foot and another guy at 6'1", and that was on the entire staff of the Phillies. I mean, you're right. It's like 6'4" and higher. But did you go to Missouri?
Yeah, I went to class of 1984.
Okay. Because a friend of mine who we've had on the show played at Missouri, Chris Jensen, and he tackled Barry Sanders on special teams.
That was after I was there, because I left in '84, and I think Barry Sanders was at Oklahoma State in the late '80s, I believe. Yeah.
Well, my friend's 60, okay, right. 61, and but the other thing is the fellow that was his classmate that was up at ESPN, his last name's Anderson. He went to Missouri School of Communications, and he is now he gave up broadcasting, and he's a professor back at Missouri.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it was cheaper for me to go to Missouri out of state than it was to go to, like, Boston College in state. You know,
That's
so
amazing.
Yeah, back in 1980, it was cheaper. But I'm glad I went out there. I learned how to drink and how to play quarters and all these drinking games that I got really good at. All right?
Well, the other thing was,
Going every place, right?
well, the other thing was they didn't have any regulations about how you had to be able to read and write when you went there. So that was a big advantage coming out of Boston.
Listen, I was in a fraternity for 3 years, and I cannot tell you some of the stories that that I remember from being in a fraternity or things I took part in, because that kind of stuff does not happen anymore. I mean, in the early 80s, anything went. And nowadays, it's all, people have cameras on their phone, so they can't do anything anymore, and it's not allowed. It's not allowed anymore. But no, I went to school. I was at Missouri right after James Wilder and Kevin Winslow graduated. Because both of those guys went to Missouri. And then they joined the NFL. But back on this umpire thing. I remember a couple of years ago, I was covering a game here at Single A, Florida State League, and they had the automatic strike system. But the way it worked was they had a complete computer calling balls and strikes. So there'd be somebody from the press box watching the ball, and when it crossed the plate, a computer would register whether it was a ball or strike, and then the person down in the booth would alert the umpire, and then the umpire would either raise his hand or call it a ball. So that was completely automated. But at least the umpire has a chance to make the call and then be overruled. And I think I like this system other than a totally automated system. It keeps the human element in there a little bit,
Yeah, it does that. You're right.
Doug, is there any, we talk about the Red Sox, we talk about the Yankees, we talk about the Blue Jays who, put on one of the great World Series of the last 25 years last year. Do you still give them the odds-on choice at the top?
Until somebody dethrones them, even though I really like what Baltimore has done. I think getting Pete Alonso just adds more power.
Hello.
Hey.
I'll get merge in here. We're just finishing up with Doug Fernandez.
Okay.
A $40 million facility. I wrote about. They wrote They just built a $40 million developmental facility right behind Edgefield Stadium, and the thing is unbelievable. I mean, if it's not state of the, if it's not the best of the major league, it is one of the best. It is covered. They have 10 pitching mounds. They have indoor batting cages. It really is revolutionary. So they've really invested in. Forever, I had to get my bearings. I'm like, the building is built. I'm like, wow, where does this go? So, and fans have bigger access. They can watch the players actually take batting practice, where before that was off limits. So, the Orioles are banking on taking a player, and the minute they draft him, just get their measurables, get their height, get their weight, take 3D images of them, of their swing, of their pitching, and just build it from the ground up. And I think that's what baseball is now. You're not going to have a scout go watch some guy, take 4 at bats and then write a scouting report and send it in. Those days are over. They get their eyes and their hands on these guys right out of the draft, and they build them from the ground up, like I said.
Roger? Well, it's just like the NFL with their complexes. And, the same thing. As soon as they draft them, they bring them in and they start working with them. Obviously, you don't have the 162-game season that you have in baseball, and there's so much uncertainty in baseball because, you can have an arm injury in football that would really negate you in baseball, but you could still have a brace or something, as we've seen so many times, to play in a football game. So, but no, I think it's sports overall, and we've seen it even in the NBA, the NHL, the Flyers complex in Voorhees is very impressive. And then the Sixers have the one on the Camden waterfront where they were even talking about building their arena down there across the river from Philadelphia, but that all changed. So it's just the way, and college is the same way. I'll tell you, the one place, Doug, that I don't know what has transpired in recent years, but the last time I was in Pittsburgh, do you know the University of Pittsburgh and the Steelers shared their training facility? Both of them were at the same training facility. So that really has surprised me. I don't know if it's the same way now as many years ago. But even then, I mean, they had the NovaCare for the Eagles when I was there. And so it's within, 20 years or so that I was there.
Well, I mean, it's like, it's not only for development, right? You bring a guy in and he's 18 years old and he's hands-on. It also helps when you want to sign a free agent. I mean, if you could bring a free agent and you could not only show him, the ballpark in Baltimore, but you bring him down to Sarasota and you see the investment that the team has made in itself. And listen, you really have to bend over backwards for these players because this is the standard now. It's not like the Orioles have done something that other teams haven't done. Basically, the Orioles have caught up to other teams. You have to have this stuff. It's like in the NFL, the Patriots were just rated to have like the 26th worst, airplane that they bring these players on. And the way they treat families of the players was ranked like, 20th or 21st.
Wow.
Not ranked very well. So all these things make a difference in bringing a player on board. How you treat the family, how you treat their kids, whether you have child care during games. I mean, all these things that the fan doesn't think about, the teams had better think about if they're thinking about how, it's not just spending dollars. I mean, you have to go beyond the dollar. You have to show facilities and infrastructure. And you have to show everything to lure these players to your team. It's a lot more than just flashing money. And that's why the Orioles did something like this. In years past, I always thought of the Orioles being sort of a cheap organization. But the Angelos family owned it. They were cheap. And that's what their reputation was. And, this latest ownership group, I don't know the name off the top of my head, they have really invested not only in players, but in infrastructure. And you're counting on that to be a winning formula going forward, not just this season, 10, 20 years going forward.
Sure.
And I think the Red Sox have sort of adopted that too. That's why you see a roster of guys who are just massive. Where years ago, if a guy was 6'2", that was considered big, but not anymore.
Not anymore.
Hey, Don, we have Doug.
The Orioles, they made a misjudgment last year on the pitching area. They let their ace pitcher get away, and after that, things started to fall apart. I think you're exactly right, Doug. I think they thought they were making a step up because their minor league franchises were the best in the American League. They had more young players coming up ready to play at the major league level, and it just didn't happen because they didn't have enough pitching either in the bullpen or in the starting rotation to be competitive day in and day out. So I think you're exactly right. They're moving in another direction to do that. And the other thing is they're now going to get a little bit of a break from people going out to California because the taxes out there are so heavy on these players. Now they're starting to say, wait a minute. I'm not going to sign with the San Diego Padres, or I'm not going to sign with the Los Angeles Dodgers for the same amount of money I can get somewhere else because they're killing me with taxes.
Hey, Don.
That's why athletes who come to Florida, they're not coming here solely because they get to keep more of their money. But I know it's going to be a reason in the back of their head somewhere that with no state tax down here and you're getting a contract for $50 million, I mean, that extra million, that adds up if there's no state tax. You get to keep a lot more money in your pocket. So I think a guy like Brady, when he came down here, and Gronkowski, I think they don't really like the Florida lifestyle. They like the fact they can keep more Benjamins in their back pocket. But, you know, you're absolutely right in terms of, I forgot what his name was, but he was the top dog in the Orioles rotation. He won like 15, 16 games, and they let him go. And they did not sign anybody to replace him. And that loss was not absorbed. But listen, a couple of other guys haven't really developed too. Their catcher, who I remember when they drafted him 5 years ago, they thought this guy was the next Johnny Bench. And he's gotten injury. What's his name? Rushhour, whatever his name is. He hasn't really panned out. Maybe Mountcastle. So I think a lot of their guys that they really thought they could be linchpins for the next decade haven't come through. But listen, I think that whole division, don't count out the Rays either. They're moving back to Tropicana Field. I think it's a big advantage for them. I think the fact that they played in Steinbrenner Field, I think that hurt them. I think that helped the opposition. I think going back to the Dome, back to their environment, that's going to play in their favor. So I think that you're going to factor in Toronto, but I think you really can't count on anybody. But I don't look for the Red Sox to take that division. They have to get another bat for them to really do anything, in my opinion.
Don, we have Doug. Doug's ready to go.
With Doug, because we're ready to make on to the next move. Doug, thank you very much as always. And you can close it out, Roger.
Well, Doug, it's always a pleasure, and I wanted to get your phone number and address from Don or Frank. But
I got all that. I want
to just send you something, but we really appreciate everything and that you contribute, and you really have a repertoire and a history, especially of Boston teams. So take care.
Doug, thank you very much, and I'll get back to you tomorrow morning. I got a couple of things I want to talk to you about anyway, and I'll get back to you tomorrow.
He's gone.
All right. Okay, we ready to move on now? Okay. Mike Zimzak should be ready, and also...
No, Mike's not here, John. It's just Doug.
Oh, it's just Doug tonight?
Yes.
Okay, we lost Mike again?
Yeah.
Well, so far.
Our PGA professional, master professional, with the Arnold Palmer tournament coming up this weekend. One of the great, voted the number 8 difficult course on all of the PGA Tour is the Arnold Palmer. Went from 10 last year to 8 this year. And it's a terrific course. If you had the opportunity to get over there and to play that, it's a lot of fun and it's a great course. But Doug, a lot of things to talk about, not only in the world of golf, but we were chatting about I don't know if you had a chance to hear much of our last half hour. Doug Fernandez is talking about the $50 million facility that your owners in Baltimore have built behind Ed Smith Stadium, and he said it's an absolute marvel.
It's definitely state of the art. My wife spent 5 days at spring training and just remarked about the environment and, generally speaking, I guess the players were very receptive to, a lot of the marketing campaigns and advertising and, uniforms, and, they were mostly in good spirits. You'll find a couple, sour apples in the bunch, which we won't name any names, but, I think there's a lot of buzz around some of the off-season changes. I think Pete Alonso is just, I think, everything that we hoped he would be in terms of, the leader, the contract he signed. I was watching some of the spring training game today, and Pete Alonso is actually the all-time home run hitter for the New York Mets, which is saying something. And, he's gotten off to a pretty good start already this spring. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on.
Yeah, he's had a couple of games where he's hit a couple home runs in a game, and you're right. He's gotten off just what the Orioles wanted. They wanted him to come in and make a solid impression right out of the gate, even though it's only spring training, and that's exactly what he's done. But, Roger, we'll go to you next.
Yes, is he is Oriole Park at Camden Yards really a good home for him as far as production goes, in your opinion, Doug? You're a baseball guy.
Absolutely. I think the confines of Camden Yards will suit him just fine. Quick note, the story that I heard watching the game today was the Orioles were doing some infield drills with rotation and bunt drills and pitchers covering and some different things that apparently it wasn't quite as smooth as it should have been. And I believe it was Pete Alonso and there was another player, and I can't remember who they said, basically kind of called a little timeout and brought all the guys in, and the coach, Albanese, was in there, and they were getting ready to move on to something else. And Pete Alonso was basically like, look, man, if we're going to compete and we're going to do well, we need to do these drills, and we need to do them at full speed, and we need to get them right. And so he made the rest of the players and everybody do it for another 15 minutes until, they figured out, okay, well, this is what it's supposed to look like. So I think there's a very strong presence of leadership within that clubhouse. I think there's going to be a redefining, if you will, of the Oriole way. And I think that there's some really good pieces in place to be able to do that. Listening to the last segment when you guys were talking, about the Orioles, Don, you were making some remarks. Last year just wasn't the year that we had hoped it would be as an Oriole fan, as an organization. But, a lot of that had to do with just insurmountable injuries. Adley Rutschman played a total of 90 games. O'Neill in right field didn't. I don't know what he played, less than 90, I think. But you had a lot of people that were trying to come back from injury. Bautista got hurt again, and just some of the off-season acquisitions that were made just weren't relevant. You know what I mean? To go get a guy like Charlie Morton, to sign an aging veteran in Sugano, Craig Kimbrell. All these guys.
He had some tests done today.
Not the answer.
He was too weak to talk.
Roger, what did I hear? Frank want to say something?
No, that's okay, Roger. Mike is not going to be joining us tonight. It's his birthday, and they're out celebrating, he said.
Oh, okay.
The other thing is, I cannot believe.
He's 3 sheets to the wind.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I cannot believe that Mr. Hamilton would send his wife down to Sarasota and not let us know so we could have taken her out to dinner or have her come over to the house.
Well, there's a couple good reasons.
No, don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. I'm hurt.
I wasn't with her.
We don't care.
All right. Well,
She's better looking anyway.
She's beautiful. I can't trust you guys with her. Hey, listen, we may learn a little something if she's around.
That's right.
Well, let me tell you something. I can guarantee you this. So you wouldn't know this. I mean, my wife, I tried to coax her many a time to try to come onto the show, and she won't do it because she just doesn't feel comfortable. I don't know why, but she just doesn't. But I got to tell you, Frank, you're kind of the boxing / I think hockey kind of guy. But you name an all-time capital, and she'll tell you what his number was and like what years he's like. She knows a lot about sports. Like it's ever flowing in our household. Like sometimes when we watch Cats games, they do a little segment on there where they talk about tonight's retro cap or whatever it's called, and she's like, "Oh yeah, he's so and so. He's number this, and he played these years or whatever." Like it's unbelievable. She knows so much about it.
Did she used to go to the beautiful Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland?
She
Or
grew
was
up
that
there
before
because,
her time?
well, her folks were season ticket holders for the Bullets and the Caps, and she spent an awful lot of time, watching them growing up. And she went back and had worked for, I guess you'd call that Monumental Sports, Caps, Wizards, Mystics for a period of time. So she's always been in the sports industry in terms of retail, and has a firm grasp. She worked for Daniel Snyder and the Redskins. Now we're on to the Orioles. Obviously has Georgia football covered. I think she took freshman English with Heinz Ward, I think is what she said.
I think, Doug, she would fall in the category of, if you know young women that are not young women, women in general, who follow sports. They are more rabid about the sporting teams and events than the men are, really. They get so much into it, and it's amazing how much they can contribute.
Well, I think from my standpoint, when you find a woman who likes sports, we call that a unicorn. Most of the time that we spend, we don't watch reality TV shows because they're stupid. We watch the news and we watch sports pretty much. 20. That's all we watch, really. And in fact, she's such a dork that she actually has her phone set up to get certain notifications, like, breaking news, so-and-so just signed with the so-and-sos, or, University of Georgia men's football team just signed a 5-star recruit out of whatever. Like, she has these,
It's actually banned.
University of Georgia just had their 31st person arrested.
well,
Bing, 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 bing.
Lowest graduating class of all time.
I'll tell you who was a big Capitals fan. Don and I talked about this a number of times. Was the great Larry King, that did the talk show on radio and TV. Because when I'd be down either in Fairfax or down for my 2 weeks of naval training, I'd be over there to watch the Capitals all the time. One night, Howard David wanted me to stay and do stats for him at a Georgetown game, and I said, no, I'm going to go to the hockey game. And I loved going over to the Capitol Center, and then you'd see Larry King, and you get to talk to him, in the cafeteria, and it was great. It was a great experience. But I loved it there. It was a great arena, I thought.
Well, I grew up watching the Skipjacks play at the Baltimore Arena. That takes you back in time.
Yeah.
I had an accounting teacher in high school that worked for Skipjacks, and he would organize bus trips for some of the students to go down, and we would, try to find a spot up against the glass, and hopefully they had some good fights. And I told my wife, I said, there was a guy that we watched that played for the Skipjacks. His name was, I think it was Bob Babcock. And the only reason he was on the ice was to get into a fight. He was nothing but a goon. He had no offensive. And it was great, you would go down there and you would watch, and they would get in these big fights. And it was awesome.
I was down there many times when Earl the Pearl was there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and it reminded me when I hear this Skipbacks, the Ramblers before the Flyers. It was just when the minor league hockey, that's the way it was. But you guys want to talk about golf, and I already talked to both of you about the young lady that I had in school the other day. That's quite the golfer. But go ahead, you guys.
Yeah, Roger was telling me about a young girl, 14 years old, Roger? An Oriental young lady.
Yeah, she's of Asian, I told Doug, of Asian, heritage, and shoots in the low 80s. And what I'll tell you is, I said to both of you, what impressed me was when I asked her about, getting involved more, she does not want to be homeschooled, which, if you go into that arena, you're going to be homeschooled. Yeah. And also, she knew all about the IMG Academy, how often they play, And Frank, you know probably more about it, about their golf at the IMG, because it's not.
Well, the IMG, Center Bay Country Club. Yeah, they have their own golf course over there, but they use Center Bay Country Club's golf course a couple of times a week for different not only events but for practice. So that they had, and when we talk about the Orioles, when you look at women's golf, I mean, they dominate. They dominate at the top. And you can just see how intense they all are and how perfectionists. They're all perfectionists to the best of their ability. And you probably work with a lot of them, Doug, and I'll tell you, they take it seriously. They don't fool around.
Yeah, I mean, the Montgomery County courses that I teach, I mean, you see a very high presence of, Asians that play there. They play in anything really. But you'll see at a couple of the courses where I teach, it's the work ethic. I mean, they're there every day. They're there practicing, hitting golf balls. There's in many cases when you have the kids, the parents are, there's one in particular that I can tell you. It's a dad and a son. The son's probably, he's a teenager for sure. I don't know. I guess he's maybe 15, and I don't know whether they're Korean or, I don't know exactly what language they're speaking. But when the dad is talking to the kid, like you can tell voice inflection, even though you don't know what they're saying, and it's like he's yelling at him all the time. And by the time I leave, one of the two of them is yelling at the other one. Like it's every night. Like it's unbelievable. And the dad speaks English, and I was watching him. He had the kid. He stuck a golf glove under, the kid's a right-handed player. He stuck a golf glove under his right armpit, and he had this kid hitting golf balls. And I was just standing there watching. I didn't say a word. And the dad says to me, he goes, "Well, what do you think, coach?" And I looked at him and I was like, do you want my honest opinion? He goes, "Yeah, that's why I asked you." And I said, "Well, I think it's absolutely awful what you're trying to teach the kid." I was like, you're wrecking this kid. I was like, well, that's the worst drill that you could possibly do. And he looked at me and he goes, "Why do you say that?" And I was like, because if you stick something under his right armpit, his right elbow can't detach from his body. Like it has to make a golf swing. Like, well, I don't know what you're teaching this kid, but it's terrible. And then I walked away and he didn't say anything to me. I was like, you asked. I always tell people, if you're going to ask me a question, you should be afraid of the answer, right? Because you might not like it.
I think I've never had the pleasure of being, over in any of the in Japan or China or whatever, but everybody that I've talked to, I mean, there's such limited courses to play, and more importantly, at midnight at night they're still in the driving range, and they have some double-decker driving ranges and all that. I mean, they're hitting balls at midnight to going. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, so I have an older sister, and she lived in Japan for several years, and she taught English as to the Japanese kids. And she used to tell me stories all the time about, like, when you think of Japan, you think of technologically advanced, you think of more modern, you think of, like, if you're in certain spots, you'll get that, but other spots aren't like that. And Don, this should take you back a number of years. Do you remember you remember Wilson had a set of golf clubs called the Fat Shaft? Remember those?
I do not. I can't say that I do.
You're probably talking late 90s.
Okay.
And Wilson had a golf ball that was called it was something titanium. And at that point in time in my young golfing career, I was actually a Wilson staff member, and I used to get free golf balls, like dozens and dozens and dozens. And I remember one time my sister had called me and she said, Doug, I've got some, heavy hitters over here. Is there any way possible that you could send me a couple dozen golf balls? And I said, sure. And you want to talk about, like, to your point, Don, like everything in Japan is built up because they don't have enough space. There's very limited golf courses. And if you gave somebody like a brand new dozen golf balls, I mean, that was to them, that was like $1 million. Like if we would have thought about this properly during the late 90s, we would have taken a trunkload full of like Levi jeans over there, and holy crap, man, we would have just been millionaires. So you know, it's just the way that different cultures look at different things, because they don't have, not everybody has, you know, everything that everybody has. It's crazy. I mean, I know when I was a kid, you know, I would say that we were members of a club. It wasn't anything special, but you know, a couple times a year, I would take a couple of my buddies, and we would go wade in the ponds, and we'd look in the weeds, and we'd go into the trees, and we'd try to find as many golf balls as we could because we couldn't afford to buy them, so we had to find them. Right. Yeah.
Well, your brother-in-law was in the military then, right, Doug?
Yeah.
Japan.
Let me think. My sister was not married at that time, so no.
That was before then.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say one thing. Walmart learned about that because they got you buy those bags of balls right for $5. They're all wash balls. Somebody's going out and collected and sold that. So you can't believe how many of those bags of balls go out for $5 and $6.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's and I'll tell you this. I mean, I used to have people when I was a head golf professional at my two stops. There were companies that would call or get in contact with you, and what they wanted to do was they wanted to come in and they wanted to dive your ponds, and they would take all of your golf balls that they found, and then they would sort them into like categories of, you know, A, B, C, D, or whatever.
Right.
They would give you whatever, 50 cents, a quarter, nickel, dime, whatever it was. And then they would buy your golf balls from you. And, you know, it's a tremendous business in terms of, you know, the recycle of golf balls. You know, it's huge. It's a huge business.
No question about it. I mean, Walmart's made a lot of money with those used balls. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, kids go out when they live close to a course. They go out on the course, you know, when people are finished for the day, and scout out those balls.
Absolutely.
And you know, they'll give them to their father or mother, but they also go, like you said, and sell them. You know, and no, you're right. It's a very lucrative business, especially for
well, I'll tell you,
when they have the time open.
When I was in Sarasota, this is now I'm in Naples now. Well, all the years I was in Sarasota, Sarah Bay Country Club, the houses along the golf course, people would get the balls and they'd put them in little wire baskets like they would use in a golf range, and they'd put them out there, and then they put a glass, and you pick as many balls you want to put, and give them the money, put it in a glass. And everybody trusted everybody. I mean, and you just on their back lawn, and that's how much money they made every week.
Same as the produce stand. I mean, you know, you go over and you pick 4 pieces of squash and you leave $2. You know what I mean? That's
right.
Hey, Don, there was a judge here in Sarasota, Preston DeVilbus. We used to play golf every Saturday, and at one course that we play, he would see, you know, people. We always go in there, and this one guy got caught, and they called the sheriff's office, and they locked him up. And he came before the judge in the morning, and I'm sitting in the jury box waiting for him to go to lunch. And he said, "Your Honor, this is the first time I've ever done it." And he looked over at me. He says, "Is that right?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You're sure? First time?" I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "Well, Mr. Carroll and I bought balls for you 3 different times this last year." And he hit him with 30 days in jail.
Well, I'll tell you, it's you got 2 kinds of people. One, you know, that just don't care if their ball goes out, not you may be out of bounds, but only 5 or 6 yards off the course. They're not going to go in and get it. They just leave it there. So, kids can make a lot of money if they, as you say, go out. It's 5 o'clock at night. They can collect a lot of balls.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That's one thing I always tell people is if I play golf and I hit a golf ball, somewhere where it shouldn't be, then I'm not going to go look for it. That's where it ought to be.
Well, I'll tell you, down here, they tell you don't go by the water because you got those alligators. You don't want to go pick up your ball by the edge of the lake. I'll tell you that. Let the alligator have it.
Yeah, I tell you, Don, you'll like this. We this was holy crap. I don't know, 15 years ago maybe. I had the opportunity to go down to Kiowa Island. I did not play the ocean course, although we were scheduled to. We didn't wind up playing it, but we played Cacique. We played a country club called Briars Creek, and we played the river course.
Okay.
On the river course, I distinctly remember it was me, one of my assistants, and 2 guys from the maintenance staff. And my partner was the assistant superintendent. Okay, so we played a par 4, and all along the left side was water, and there was nothing but alligators that were laying there sunning themselves. Okay, and the assistant superintendent, my partner, we got to the green, and he kept looking over his shoulder, and I looked at him and I said, "What the hell are you looking at?" He goes, he looks at me. There's I don't know. It was a baby alligator. We'll say baby. I don't know. He was a foot long, right? And he was worried because this alligator was laying on the green. And I said, listen, buddy. I was like, just go ahead and make the putt. I'll take care of the alligator. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, after you hit it, if this alligator makes a move, all you got to do is run. You got to run in zigzags because they can't. You outrun them if you run in zigzags. So. Anyway, he wound up 2-putting and we won the hole. And we wound up playing, I don't know, 5 rounds of golf. And I think we owed each other $0. It was a dead push.
Well, I think most of the golf courses, they'll tell you, that you could have an Englewood, for instance, and between Venice and Sarasota, and you play the courses along there, and they got water. And they tell you, if you're not familiar with playing these courses, don't go get your ball close to the water because it really is a dangerous thing.
Well, it's the same thing if you go out to Arizona. I mean, you don't want to be fooling around with cactus and rattlesnakes and everything else. I mean, just leave it, man.
Roger?
Yeah, it's not worth it to lose part of your body on a golf ball.
No, absolutely not.
Tick, tick, tock, tick, tick, tock.
$10,000 in a bet, right?
Tick, tick, tock, guys.
Yeah.
I just got the tick, tick, tock. I heard Frank this time. Doug, thank you very much. A lot of fun tonight. A lot of things to talk about. Roger, take care. Frank, it's all yours.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, these programs are brought to you each and every night of the week in grateful appreciation to the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, the men and women of Police and Fire Services. When you're out there and you see somebody in uniform, please let them know that you know they're there. These programs are also dedicated to those who've lost their lives in the line of duty. Deputy Robert Anthony Carroll, Patrolman David Curtis, Patrolman Jeffrey Colcap, Patrolman Jeffrey Yazowitz, Sergeant Thomas Batinger, San Diego Officer Mike Hendler, Sergeant Tom Wilson, Charlotte County Sheriff's Department, Detective Randy Bell, Detective Ricky Childers, Patrolman Charlie Condit, Tarpon Springs Police Department, Deputy Chief Mike Godwin, Philadelphia Fire Department, Lieutenant Joyce Craig Lewis, Philadelphia Fire Department, Sergeant James O'Connor, Philadelphia Police Department, Sergeant Chris LeVake, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, Lieutenant Mike Zerba, Newcastle County Police, Patrolman Anafo Crispin, Lakeland PD, Deputy Josh Meyer, Nassau County Sheriff's Department, Captain Matt Letourneau, Philadelphia Fire Department, Captain Chris Leach, Wilmington Fire Department, Lieutenant Ardith Hope, Wilmington Fire Department, Lieutenant Jerry Ficus, Wilmington Fire Department, Chief Jimmy Ford, Wilmington Fire Department, Chief Al Hogle, Long Bouquet Police Department, Deputy Mike Hargrove, Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, Trooper Chelsea Richards, Florida Highway Patrol, Trooper Joe Bullock, Florida Highway Patrol, Trooper Zachary Ben, Florida Highway Patrol. Sergeant Chris Fitzgerald, Philadelphia Police Department. Sergeant Ramon Mendez, Philadelphia Police Department. Chief Corey Compantier, Buffalo Creek Fire Department. Deputy Ronnie Monasitsky, Manatee County Sheriff's Department. And Patrolman Zachary Butterfield, Bradenton PD. My brothers and sisters, although you may be 10-7 at this point in time, but sometime we'll be 10-10 at the table of the Lord. Until that time, may the rose rise up to meet you. May the winds be always at your back. May the rains fall softly on your fields and the sun shine lightly on your face. Until we meet again, may the good Lord keep you and your family always in the palm of his hands. Good night, God bless, and have a great week.